Storytime about my psycho boyfriend and backstabbing best friend. So a little background information, I was 17 and in 12th grade, and we're going to call my best friend Sheila. And she had just met this guy who was, quote, the love of her life on this vegan Facebook page. Well, the one day while they're on FaceTime, his best friend Brad saw what I looked like and he wanted my phone number. Fast forward, she gives it to him and I start talking and we hit it off instantly. I definitely thought that he was boyfriend material because even though we lived like 5 hours away from each other, we would Skype for like 9 hours a day, every day. Fast forward to my birthday, we make things official, and he wanted to see me for my birthday, so he decided to get a hotel room for us. So finally, him and I meet in person, and we end up doing the nasty. And it was terrible, but he was my boyfriend, so Well, after this, he ends up becoming weirdly obsessed with me. He starts saying things like the next time that he comes and sees me, we're gonna get married. After talking to Sheila about it, I decided to break things off with him because things were moving way too fast and it freaked me out. After I told him this, he started sobbing. He was like, I wish I would have got you pregnant so that way you couldn't leave me. And I'm in shock because, dude, it has been 3 months. You need to calm down. Like for part 2. Part 2 about my psycho ex and my backstabbing best friend. So like I said, Sheila convinced me to break up with him, and I did. Fast forward, Sheila becomes super distant with me, and she's posting stuff on her Facebook like, oh, when your new boo gives you his hoodie. And her man had broke up, so I texted her asking who it was about, because I'm her best friend, duh. Finally, a few days later, after she was done avoiding me, she decides to answer with, we need to talk. I slept with Brad, and now him and I are in love with each other. And I'm like, what the hell happened to girl code? Like, yeah, I didn't want him, but at the same time, you're a snake. Like, ew. Anyway, so then she starts saying things like he's the best boyfriend and the reason why I'm single is because I wasn't appreciative of him. I ended up messaging her ex and telling him what happened, and to get our get back, we slept together. Fast forward, a month goes by, and then I get a text from Sheila and Brad on the same day saying that they broke up because both of them cheated on each other. And it was quite comical because Brad's like, yeah, you were the best girlfriend I ever had, and then Sheila's like, yeah, you were my best friend. I don't know why I would do that to you. I told both of them to F off, and then I told her ex what happened. So him and I laugh about it, and then 2 days later, I get a text from him saying that him and Sheila are getting married. Yeah.
My entitled daughter wanted her stepdad to walk her down the aisle instead of me, so I refused to pay for her wedding. When my daughter was 16, her mother cheated on me and married the man she cheated with. I hated my ex-wife with a passion at the time and wanted to get as far away from her, but I didn't. I wanted my daughter to grow up in a normal environment and not surrounded by hate everywhere. So I split custody with my ex-wife and made sure my daughter's mental health wouldn't be affected. We never told her about the cheating as a way to protect her. My ex's new husband quickly became her stepdad and I didn't have a problem with it. Whenever my daughter would come back after spending time with their house, I would just be happy that she had fun. She would tell me how much fun her new stepdad was and that she loved him, which was cute in my opinion. I still had to work a lot of hours, but I made sure to spend proper time with her. For her 17th birthday, I chipped in with her mom and got her a new car. I do make more money than her and her husband, so I paid more than her, but it wasn't a big deal. She absolutely loved it and thanked her mom for it. I thought it was a bit weird that she didn't offer me a thank you, even though we both had paid for it, but I didn't dwell on it. After she turned 18, she began spending more and more time at her mom's house. But I had trusted her in the way I had raised her to make her own adult decisions. As a result, she got a lot of independence from my side and basically did what she wanted. I didn't maintain friendly contact with her mom outside of what my daughter was doing, so I don't know how she spent her time there. But little did I know, I was allowing my ex-wife to steal my daughter away. Anyway, I helped her get into the best college in our city and fully paid her tuition so she wouldn't have to get a job. That way she could focus on her academics or whatever it was that she wanted to do in life. Looking back, there was once again a lack of gratitude from her side, but I never really asked for a thanks. I did what I did because I wanted to. She is 26 now, living in her own house, and was just proposed to by the love of her life, whom she luckily met in college. I was so happy for her and called her to congratulate her. During that call, I also offered to pay for her wedding because it was going to be her special day. I knew her now fiance was a good man and that he would take good care of her, so I wanted to give her away in style. She was very excited to hear that and said that I just made her even more happy. She began planning a destination wedding in Italy with the large budget that I had provided. But then a couple of days later, she called me to tell me the worst news of my life. She wanted her stepdad to walk her down the aisle instead of me. I obviously didn't agree to it and asked her why. I loved her a lot and wanted to do this for her, and she had absolutely no reason to walk with another man. But she began telling me that it is not a big deal and it's just something that he wants to do. I said I also want to do it and that I also have the right to do it since I'm her actual father. She began screaming at me, telling me to calm down even though I didn't raise my voice. She said that it was her choice and that she decided on her stepdad and that I didn't have a say in it. I didn't hear anything after that because my mind had shut down. I just put the phone down and desperately tried to hold back my tears. I had no idea why she would do this. I gave her everything and made sure she was happy and never neglected. Heck, I even kept in contact with the woman who broke my heart. I got a text from my ex-wife calling me a horrible person and that I was ruining my daughter's wedding by making unreasonable demands. I screenshotted it and sent it to my daughter, thinking that she would apologize for what her mother had said. But to my shock, she agreed with that statement and that I should leave her alone. So in her mind, me asking to be her dad was an unreasonable demand. After a few more hours of crying, my eyes had really opened and I had come to a decision. I decided that I would no longer be paying for the wedding. I knew that they would not be able to afford a destination wedding without my support, but I didn't care. My daughter didn't seem to want me there at all, so why would I pay for something that I can't even attend? But after I sent that text, my phone began blowing up. My ex was suddenly very apologetic about her behavior. My daughter began saying that she didn't mean what she said and that it was all a joke. She said that of course I can walk her down the aisle if I still agree to pay for her wedding in Italy. However, I just texted her this. Don't worry, I don't want to buy your love with money. I will leave you alone just like you wanted. That was the last message I sent her, and a few weeks passed by. Of course, she and her mother kept texting me saying that I'm a horrible person for backing out of paying like that. Some texts made me laugh though, so I never blocked them. They even got other family members and friends to text me and ask me to take back my words, but I ignored everyone. And today, I finally replied to my daughter's countless texts. I uploaded a selfie on Instagram with my new yacht in Monaco with the caption, "Oops, all of the wedding budget was blown on this baby. Guess I'm not invited anymore."
My manipulative wife has been sleeping with her personal trainer in exchange for free classes. So I slept with mine after forgiving her. Over the past couple of years my wife suffered 2 miscarriages and slumped into a depression which led to her overeating a lot and packing on quite a few pounds. She became very insecure about her looks over this time and would constantly ask me for reassurance on whether or not I still thought she was beautiful. She finally had enough after her own mother told her she was built like a beanbag and joined our local gym about 1 year ago. She noticed a lot of progress in around 6 months and had lost most of the weight she had gained over the years by trying extremely hard. I was so proud of her, and around 6 months into her gym journey, she hired a personal trainer to further help her out. She showed me a picture of him and naturally I felt a little insecure. He was in amazing shape, looked in his 30s and styled his hair just how my wife liked it. Plus my wife had already cheated on me once around 6 years ago, so I knew she was capable of things like that, but I pushed the doubts to the back of mind and wrote them off as silly worries. Well, I started suspecting something when she came home from the gym 2 months after hiring the guy, exclaiming she was so good that the guy was willing to give her a discount on her sessions with him. I told her he is probably doing that because he wants to sleep with her, and she got angry at me, saying that just because she cheated once in the past doesn't mean she'll do it again. She's changed and that she thought I said I was over it. That was a rough night for the two of us. I don't know why, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was going on between them. She came home from sessions with him smiling like she had never smiled before. She woke up with a smile on her face if it was the day that he was going to train her, and when his birthday came around she decided to take him out to dinner. When she informed me of this fact I told her there was no way at all that I was okay with this, and she said that this was just her way to show her appreciation for everything that he has done for her. I tried to tell her no, but ultimately, I could never say no to my wife, so I let her go for her dinner. She ended up coming home later that night around 10 p.m. slightly tipsy, saying that they had a little drink and bragging about the fact that she was even able to see his abs through his white shirt when he accidentally spilled the wine on himself. She made a joke about how I should start asking him for advice on how to look as good as him. Hearing all of this was devastating, as I was sure if the affair wasn't physical, it was for sure emotional at least. Just a few days later she came to me telling me she had some amazing news, that her trainer was willing to give her free classes if she taught him to draw. My wife is an amazing drawer and apparently he really wants to get into art, so they struck a deal where once a week they would meet up in a cafe and draw for 3 hours straight in return for her getting free PT sessions. I snapped and accused my wife of cheating on me, but she denied the claim and let me look through her phone and her texts with him. I actually found nothing more than them planning their PT times or sending each other cat memes. However, I was still not convinced. The day of my wife's first ever drawing session with her PT I got off early from work and followed her car using the tracker I planted in between her seats in the morning. The tracker led me from the gym to our house and I followed her quite far behind in order to avoid detection. I was able to get near our house without her noticing and unlock the door. What I saw was what I feared the worst, which was his shoes in the hallway, and what I heard was the sound of the bed creaking. I ended up catching them there and then, and the PT quickly scurried out of the house. And my wife started begging me to forgive her. This all happened 2 months ago and I went to stay with my best friend for a week. I returned home to my wife and told her I forgive her as long as we are never to speak of this again, and she cut contact with that PT. She agreed and life went on as normal for about a week when I told my wife I wanted to join a gym, but I wanted to work out alone and joined a different gym to her. Well, I've been going for around 6 weeks and have hired a PT behind my wife's back. I'm a bi man and so I hired the PT who connected with my gaydar the most, and me and him got to talking on a more personal level than a PT and client. I am currently sleeping with him once or twice a week and he knows about the situation with my wife. He has also prompted me to start divorce proceedings behind her back, which I'm also doing. Update: my manipulative wife has been sleeping with her personal trainer in exchange for free classes. So I slept with mine after forgiving her. So it has been a very long time since my last post and I must say that everything went way more chaotic than I ever thought it would. So it turns out that I was not the only one still cheating, as my wife was still in contact with her personal trainer and they were now hooking up in the gym bathrooms to be as secretive as possible about it. The only reason I found out is because she got too drunk one night and spilled everything to her sister, who in turn told me. I ended up confiding in this information to my own PT, who urged me to divorce her. He said that ultimately this is not a woman who loves me, and if I ever have children, she is not someone I would want them to look up to. I knew this, but it still hurt to hear it. With the help of my PT and his lawyer brother, I ended up drawing up some divorce papers for my wife, as well as acquiring some undeniable evidence of her cheating, such as pictures of her and her PT together at a mall or entering a hotel room. When I did serve my wife, she had a complete meltdown about this coming out of the blue and tried to convey to me she was loyal. She swore on her dead grandmother's grave, and that's when I saw just what a manipulative woman my wife really was. After she said that, I started handing her pictures and recalling what her sister told me. Instead of breaking down like I expected to, she ran upstairs and locked herself in the bathroom, where she called her sister and gave out to her for telling me. While she was in the bathroom, I packed some quick essentials and left for my PT's house. He lived alone and I was able to move in with him while the divorce was going on. The divorce proceedings were very messy and my wife was very hostile towards me throughout the entire thing, trying to claim I was abusive even though she had absolutely no evidence. I managed to finally divorce her, and as soon as I did, I asked my PT out. We are now 6 months in and going strong. I tried to get revenge on my liquid kids guzzling sister, but she ruined her own life. When I, 29, was little like 7 years old, my dad cheated on my mother with my stepmom, Karen. After her divorce, my mom moved away and got married again. I was always under the impression that my mother abandoned me, and that's what my dad told me too. Karen had a daughter at that time who was 5, Mia. Mia and I were kinda close growing up. But when we both hit puberty, our personality was different. Mia was the typical girly girl. She developed beautifully. She was basically like Cassie from Euphoria. She would get all the attention. Even my relatives preferred her more than me. I was basically a nerd. I was interested in sports, but I was told that I do not look bad and I am very attractive and pretty in my own way. But I was overshadowed by Mia. My dad was someone who was an opportunist. Whenever he would see an opportunity for him to shine, he would take it. Even if it meant sidelining his own daughter. He saw that Mia got more attention than me, so he invested everything on her. I was kinda jealous. But I wasn't really that bothered because I believed if I did something good I would be appreciated. So, I studied hard and got into a prestigious university. That was the only time my father threw a party for me because I was the first in the family to do it. But Mia was jealous of it. So, anyways, during my last year of high school I started dating Tim, 30. He proposed to me when we were sophomores in college. But we decided to wait till our graduation. So one day during our semester break, I went to his home and I saw him effing Mia. I was shocked to say the least. I remember I was crying and screaming at him. I could never forget the smirk on Mia's face. That's when I knew Mia was a B word. So, my dad and stepmom knew about it, and guess what? My dad told me to forgive them. His logic: Tim fell out of love with me, so he fell in love with your sister. You should give them your blessing instead of being petty. I shouted back, of course you will say that because you cheated on mom. My dad and I had a screaming match. He told me he would disown me if I do not accept them and come to their wedding. I remember that I stormed off and I cried for days. That's the moment I realized I was alone. My dad didn't care if I was dead or alive. I started therapy after a friend of mine pushed me to it. It did help a bit, but in my mind I wanted some revenge. I wanted to be petty and make her regret it. I started thinking about what I could do. My initial plan was to wear white on her wedding day. But then I ran into Mia's ex, Jay. Jay and Mia have been one of those couples who are on again off again. Mia exploited Jay a lot. The last time they broke up was when Jay caught Mia flirting with one of his friends. But there was a lot of history. So, when Jay learned about Mia and Tim, he was a little angry. He kept saying he wishes he could just take revenge on all the times Mia has done him wrong. So, I had another plan. I asked him to be my +1 at her wedding. I know Mia still has feelings for Jay. It would piss her off. But we agreed that after that we would part ways. So when the wedding came, I was not in the wedding party. My dad was cordial with me because I wasn't creating trouble. So I went to her wedding with Jay and I was wearing a bright red dress because I read that red means you slept with the groom. It was also over the top. I might have made some heads turn. When Mia saw me with Jay, her face turned pale. I was purposely being very touchy with Jay, like whispering in his ears, touching his shoulder, dancing with him very closely. I swear Mia was just as red as my dress. I was also asked to give a speech. I kept it short. Thank God I do not have more sisters, otherwise Tim would have swapped Mia with one of them. You know he has a fetish of effing his fiancée's sisters behind her back. Me and Jay were asked to leave. The next day I was bombarded with messages and phone calls. I didn't pick any of them. As for Jay, he stuck to our deal and I never saw him again. After the wedding incident, I decided I should find my mom because something in me was telling me that she didn't abandon me. It wasn't hard to find her. I found her on Facebook and we started chatting. She is married and has 2 boys, my half-brothers. I got the real story from her. She didn't abandon me. My father won the custody case. He used my mom's past substance abuse to take away her visitation rights too. We reconciled and for the first time in my life I felt welcomed. I also met my stepfather and my 2 brothers. They are amazing people. Since then, I would regularly meet them. 2 years after the wedding incident, I met a guy, Andy. We met during an alumni program in our college. He also went to our college, but he was 5 years my senior. We had a lot in common. He was kind, sweet and very mature. He knows about my past and has been really supportive. He was better than Tim in every other way. He was charming and had a really higher position in his job. After 2 years my sister contacted me out of the blue and told me she was pregnant and she now wants to bury the hatchets. I was very reluctant. I was afraid that she would try to steal Andy away from me as well. But Andy reassured me he is not that weak. Honestly, I do wanted to meet Dad again. So, I gave it a shot anyways. I went on dinner with Andy. And to my surprise Tim recognized him. It was later revealed to me that Andy was basically Tim's boss. This is the fact I didn't know. My dad and stepmom brought me to a corner and said that my relationship with Andy is unacceptable because I'm trying to hurt my sister by dating Tim's boss. I told them to F off. My love life is none of their business. The dinner went sour. After that I got a drunken call from Tim that he is very unhappy with my sister and that he actually wants to escape. He never knew what he lost until he saw me with Andy. I ignored him totally. Then the phone calls didn't stop. First it was my dad telling me that me dating Andy is causing tension between my sister and Tim. I told him their marital life is none of my business. I got call from my stepsister who asked if she could come to my house and talk. I told her after the dinner party, I want nothing to do with any of them. That TCH didn't listen. Instead she went to Andy's office to convince him to talk to me. Of course Tim saw this and accused her of trying to seduce Andy like he seduced him. Long story short, Andy had to fire Tim for his misbehave. This caused even more tension. Tim became verbally abusive towards Mia and said his life was ruined because of her. They separated. Tim is trying to figure out how can he handle the divorce proceedings. After the Tim and Mia drama, my dad suddenly showed up in my apartment. He was bawling his eyes out that he caught Karen sleeping with his male cousin. He was devastated. So, I told him what he said to me when Tim cheated on me. Karen fell out of love with you so she fell in love with your cousin. You should give them your blessing instead of being petty. My dad was confused. I further told him, well, you taught me this, remember? When I was sad about Tim cheating on me with Mia. You told me to forgive them. My father's face was rotten to say the least. Now I have 2 family members who are going through divorce. Tim and Mia tried to reconcile but eventually they settled for divorce. My dad did apologize to me for what he did to me and Mom. I told him that he deserved what's coming for him and that I have no feeling left for him. Not even pity. If the time ever comes I might forgive him but I don't want him anymore. He will not be walking me down the aisle. Andy and I are recently engaged. We are having a small ceremony with just close friends and family. I was only planning for a petty revenge but karma got them better. My 3-month-old daughter is putting creeps away in bars. My almost 3-month-old daughter has been subpoenaed to testify in a criminal case. Last Thursday a process server came to our house and served a subpoena for a criminal case on my daughter, who was born on April 15, 2015. I called the number on it to explain how it must be a mistake because my daughter is not even 3 months old yet, but I was told there was no mistake and my daughter is required to appear as a witness to testify on the date shown on the subpoena. I went in person with my daughter to the DA's office and was told the same thing. My husband and I thought this might be a case of identity theft. She doesn't have a social security number yet because she was born at 29 weeks, spent 11 weeks in the NICU and has only been home from the hospital for 7 days, so we haven't gotten around to it yet. We checked anyway just in case and one has not been created for her or issued to her. Nothing with her credit either. We called the police about it possibly being identity theft and they are looking into it, but so far there is nothing and they also told us the subpoena is legitimate. So we are very confused. My daughter has a rare and uncommon first, middle and last name, so it is very doubtful that there is someone else with her exact name. When I called the number on the subpoena and went to the DA's office I was told both times that if she doesn't show up for court a warrant will be issued for her arrest. Would the police actually arrest a baby for not showing up in court? Or would my husband and I as her parents be arrested instead? Does anyone have an explanation for what is happening here or any advice as to what we can do to solve this?